think I'm live. Hello. Hi everybody, my name is Ash from the Conscious Jungle. I have taken over a guide to Cardinia tonight and I'm going to be cooking my family's dinner. So thank you to Ben McDonald, who is the creator, admin of A Guide to Cardinia, for asking me to come on board and cook dinner with you all today. I do a little bit of volunteer work at Garfield Community Garden, and all of the produce that I'm going to cook tonight comes from the community garden at Garfield, which is in Cardinia Council. I'm from Bunyip, which is right on the skirts at the end of the Cardinia. Tonight we're going to be doing silverbeet, leek, potato gratin. So I went down to the community garden this morning and picked a bunch of silverbeet, and the other week we harvested some potatoes from the garden. So we've got a couple of cool different types of potatoes here, and then a couple of leeks which were grown at the garden as well. So that was really cool. So I do all of my cooking at home in a Thermomix, but this recipe, everything can be adapted. It doesn't have to be in a Thermomix. I'm going to start cooking. I'm going to do a pizza bianca to serve along with. I've got 3 little boys and they love the carby goodness. So I'm going to start with my pizza bianca. So I need to put in 2 garlic cloves, and a sprig of rosemary. The garlic is from Coral at Narnagoon Farmers Market Cafe, and the rosemary is from the community garden. So all I'm doing is just chopping the rosemary and the garlic. It's going to be noisy, so sorry if it's noisy. Wait for my locking arms to unhook. So that's just chopped our garlic and rosemary. It wants me to scrape it down and give it another chop just so that it's really nice and fine. And that's going to be the topping for the pizza. So it's basically like a garlic pizza. My kids love it. Chopping for another 4 seconds. So I'm going to pop that into a bowl, and I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in it, and that's just going to basically herb infuse our pizza topping. You can see that's what it looks like. I had a little bit of trouble with my sound earlier. I've never done a live video before, and I did it for the first time a bit earlier, and I think a few people had trouble hearing me. So if you can't hear me, do write in the comment section, because I can see if I can rectify that. So I'm just putting a little bit of olive oil in. Olive oil, I refill jars with olive oil. I just need a spoon, hang on a moment. Just going to mix that around, because then that's really just going to infuse nicely. So that's my topping for my pizza. Now it's asking me to put in 220 grams of water. So my Thermomix weighs as it goes, so I just start pouring in water. You probably can't see it, but it's got a little measurement here, and it's just going up. 200, 220. So that really saves me with lots of different measuring cups and things. So 1 teaspoon of raw sugar. Teaspoons about, is it 5 grams, 10 grams, around that? This is a yeast-based pizza dough. So the sugar just really helps to activate that yeast. It gives it something to eat. I'm just going to go and get my yeast out of my freezer. That's where I keep it. Whoops. So 2 teaspoons of dried yeast, putting my lid back on, and that's just going to heat the water. So we all know that yeast, it needs to be, oh, Claire said she can hear me, that's good, I'm glad you can hear me. yeast needs to be heated to activate, because while it's in the fridge it's dormant. So I'm just activating the yeast at 37 degrees is like the optimal temperature. If you heat it too high, you kill it. It's you burn it, cook it too much. So 37 degrees, optimal yeast temperature. If anybody else is having trouble getting yeast at the moment, I know I couldn't get yeast anywhere, but luckily Coral from the Farmers Market Cafe, she got in big sachets of yeast, which was really good, so I've got that in my freezer as well. But yeah, I know things are getting pretty scarce trying to find, which is not great, but what can you do? So that's just the dough there, the water heating up. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm just going to get my silver beet and just take my leaves off of the silver beet. The stalk takes a little bit longer to cook, so I'm going to cook the stalk before I cook the leaves and just roughly chop the silver beet leaves. Great thing about silver beet is you can just pick as you need. So at the community garden we always have so much silver beet. It's a really great source of iron as well. For those that don't eat a lot of red meat, silver beet's a really great one to add into dishes, and you can just saute it with a little bit of butter and things like that. So we've got 17 seconds until our yeast is activated. I'm going to be using baker's flour, which I buy in bulk, again from Coral at Nanagoon Farmers Market Cafe. She's got big drums there of all different types of flours and different ingredients, breadcrumbs and things like that. So you can buy those package free, take in your own containers, or use the paper bags that she's got supplies available. So, excuse me reaching. Here's my baker's flour that I get from Coral. And I'm going to add 400 grams, and again my machine just scales for me. But I think 400 grams, that's just shy of 2 cups. And this recipe makes 2 pizza bases, and it's just a really quick pizza dough that is a good accompaniment when it comes to trying to feed the masses, feed the crowd. 30 grams of olive oil, and a teaspoon of salt. Salt comes from Coral as well. Putting in my lid, and now I'm going to knead that dough. So my Thermomix is quite handy, gives me a lot of free time in the kitchen as well, so that's kneading the pizza dough over there. 2 minutes of kneading in the Thermomix is the equivalent to 10 minutes of me standing here hand kneading it. Prior to having that, I did knead all of our own doughs and pastas, and I still really enjoy doing it because there is quite an art to it. But when you're trying to cook minimal waste, there's a lot of kneading and bread making and dough making that goes into it, so this just really helps. Like I said, you could be doing this, you could be standing there kneading for 10 minutes, the recipe works just the same. What else have we got? So we're just going to wait for that to knead, and then we will get on with our gratin. Has anybody gone to the Garfield Community Garden? I've got a few people, got 14 people watching at the moment. Has anybody gone to the community garden? Does anybody harvest things or pick things or admire it or do some weeding? Meg said it's looking great, sounding good. Meg's one of the other people that volunteers. She's our coordinator at the community garden and puts a lot of time, love and effort into it. There's a lovely little team, a core group of people that help out there. Meg says she gets there when she can, which is, every other day. Alright, we've got 30 seconds left on there. Some of the other things that I use the kneading for is making scrolls, breads, flatbreads, wraps. I make my own wraps as well, which is just really simple, really easy ingredients. A bit of fun. I might start chopping up my leeks while I wait for that. Just take the bottoms off my leeks. I save those bottom bits because they're really great for when you're making stocks and things like that, I like to keep the odds and ends of my vegetables for those. That's my dough done. And I've got this silicone bread mat, which just saves me from having to use baking paper and things like that. It's just a nice alternative. So that's come out quite nice. You can see. So I didn't wash the bowl after I chopped the garlic and the rosemary, so it's actually got garlic and rosemary all spotted through. So that's going to rest for 15 minutes. A bit of a trick when it comes to resting doughs, I put it in my oven and I put boiling water, which in my kettle, and just that hot steam in the oven really helps get that rise going. So I'm just going to pop that in with my dough and we'll check back on that in 15 minutes. Okay, so we are going to chop our garlic for our gratin. I'm going to use 2 garlic cloves, pop that in. Just going to scrape down the side just to make sure we really chop that garlic up. And my arms are up. So again, that's the garlic chopped. Going to put in our silverbeet stalks because we're going to want them to cook a little bit longer than the leaves. Just get my leek in. So these leeks were quite little, so I've just used 2, but normally you just use 1 leek, 1 bunch of silverbeet. So we are going to add a bit of butter and a bit of oil in that. Let me just cancel out of this. Just need a spoon. Knife. So I'm going to put about 50 grams of butter. 30 grams, that'll do. And I'm going to put olive oil in that too, because the olive oil will stop the butter from burning. Taking you back to childhood with the bread, yeah, definitely. It's nothing better than fresh baked bread, Claire, I agree with you. So what we're going to do, Thermomix is going to saute it, but again, like I said, you could do this in a fry pan, no problem. So I'm just going to put that on for 4 minutes. I'm going to do 100 degrees. And so that's our leek and our silverbeet in sauteing with our garlic. What else are we doing? So in our topping, which is going to go on top of our gratin, we're actually going to use some lemon zest. So I just use a peeler to get my little bit of lemon, and I'll whiz that up in the Thermomix a little bit later. It is a potato gratin, but anybody else that has been at the community garden recently knows that we had a whole bunch of turnips. So I'm actually going to throw a couple of turnips in and my kids won't even notice, I promise. So I just am chopping them pretty roughly because I'm actually going to dice it up in the Thermomix, just saves me time. If you had a mandolin, you could mandolin and get your nice little slices. But I'm a bit of a hack kind of cook, so I don't have time for mandolins. What else have we got? So, we love the way the Thermomix sings. I know, I love that the Thermomix sings to me. You can change the sounds, which is fun. Don't tell the kids that there's turnips in it. No, definitely not. Does anybody else use turnips? I know that it's not everybody's a big fan of it, but I really love it. I love doing mashed turnips on top of shepherd's pie as well. Doing turnips is that. One of the great things about turnips is the how quick the turnaround is for them. You know, potatoes, you've got to wait 5-6 months to be able to harvest your potatoes, but turnips can be ready within 30 days. So, you know, 4 weeks from seed to a full turnip, which is really great when, especially at the moment where things are turnip in soups, Claire, yeah, definitely. because that's the thing, it's just like a sweet potato type thing. It's actually got higher fibre as well. Yeah, you use them now, Meg, definitely. We've had an abundance of them at the garden. I really hope some people can really sort of embrace the turnip and what it offers. Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop that. It was 2 minutes of browning. So we've sauteed. Probably could do a little bit longer. I'm going to put the leaves in now as well. Get them sauteing. Turnips in those pasties. Yes, Vicky, definitely. We Cornish pasties have turnips in them. It's really good, especially at this time when we're trying to, you know, ingredients can be hard to come by. So having crops that are quick to grow is really, really helpful. I know myself, you know, carrots, they can take a little while, so we're always picking out the baby carrots and getting a bit impatient. So those quick crops like the silverbeet, like the turnips, they're a really great one to get in your veggie garden so that you have a quick return and a high yield. Yeah. So yeah, we've got our oil infused for our pizzas. The topping, I said before, we're going to have the lemon zest on our topping, but we're also going to have butter and breadcrumbs and a little bit of cheese if you'd like that. Yeah, Meg, the Thermomix heats too. Yeah, it does. So it does all the cooking for me. So I could be doing this in the fry pan, but instead I get to stand here and figure out what I'm going to say to you guys because it's doing all the cooking for me. But that's all right. So at the community garden, we've got a few different people come in and do some things, and Meg has said about the turnips in the playgroup planting. So the playgroup at Garfield, they come over and they have a little plot there, and the kids come over and have a bit of a play in the garden and do some tending. So the garden's open for everybody. A lot of people feel really bad about picking from the garden. You know, they say, oh, I don't know if I can or if I'm allowed. And absolutely, the garden's for everybody. If it's not in a garden bed and it's pretty well a weed, so you can just get on in there, and we have tools around for you to do your weeding as you like. I'm just going to give that a little bit more. Just giving it a stir. It was right up to the top before. You can see it's really started to reduce. I'd like to see that reduce for another 2 minutes. And that gives me another 2 minutes to stand here and chat to you lovely folks. Yeah, that's right, Meg. We do eat some of the weeds. I can't off the top of my head think of the weeds that we eat, but every time I'm at the garden and Meg's there, she's always picking off leaves and bits for me to try and open my taste buds to a whole new world, definitely. Is it the edible ivy, Meg? Is that one of the ones that you've got me to nibble on as I wander through? I'm pretty sure it was. Alright, I'm just going to put the turnip with our potato. So I've got my baking dish. And I'm going to put the silverbeet layer on that. Purslane, that's the one. I thought it was purslane, but I couldn't remember. Purslane. Edible weed. I didn't realise I'd have so much downtime in amidst my Thermomix doing all my cooking for me. So I've mentioned the community garden where I get most of our produce from. At the moment we've got beans, and green tomatoes in abundance. So we definitely need people down there picking, obviously keeping a safe distance from one another if you are down there, especially what's going on in the world at the moment. So, but yeah, there's beans galore, green tomatoes, and there will be carrots again soon as well. I know there's been some carrots. Mel is the weed man. Mel introduced us to the edible ivy. Mel is also one of our coordinators at the community garden and has a lot to do with the permaculture principles and brings that within the community garden, which is lovely. Alright. going to do some more cooking once it's in the oven, but it's really, really reduced now. So that's sauteed right down. So I'm going to pop that on the base of my gratin. So that's looking really nice. It's smelling so good. And I'm going to put the bear mix back in. I'm just going to chop up my potatoes now. Just make sure that's exactly what I'm doing. Yep, chopped potato and turnips. I'm just going to do that in a two-part chop. Actually, sorry. So that's just going to chop my potatoes. Let me have a little look in. Yep, it's looking good. Wait for it to open its lid for me. So that's just roughly chopped my potatoes. I'm going to reuse this bowl because I'm all about less dishes. That one can go back in. And chop the rest of those. So I'm using about 1 kilo of mixed potatoes and a sneaky turnip as well. Just going to chop that next up. That's all chopped. Wait for my arms to open. That one got whizzed up a little bit more. Love the colour of those purple potatoes. Looks great. I'm also a very messy cook. So I've got all my potatoes in, they're all chopped. Now I'm going to put in my cream. So this came from Corals at Narngara Farmers Market Cafe. It's from Caldermead Farm. So she gets that through Sheffield, who gets all the different milks and cheeses from, you know, Mafra cheese to Caldermead milk and delivers them locally. So this one is a awesome cream that has no thickness, it's pure cream. I'm just going to get my scale up. Cancel recipe. So I'm going to put about 500 grams of cream in this one. Oh, that looks so good. 500 grams of cream. So what I was saying before is that we're a family of minimal wasters. We don't have zero waste, we have minimal waste. Put some pepper. Which means that where possible we try and buy things in bulk. So for example, buying a 500 or 250 ml cream, I prefer to buy the 2 litre cream, and then that way I can, you know, less packaging for more quantity. I've just put some thyme, that's from the community garden. I'm just going to go get some stock paste. So I've got some vegetable stock paste. When I said to you before that I hold on to all my bottoms and tops of carrots and things like that, I then whip them up and turn it into a stock paste, which is a high salt concentrate. And that just adds so much flavour, extra nutrients and all of that. So I'm just going to stir that through, and refreshing you, I've got turnip, potato, cream, pepper and some stock paste and thyme in there. So I'm just going to get this all mixed around. I'm just going to use that to help mix it. Get that all coated. Alright. I'm getting a bit messy here, aren't I? So that's our topping of our gratin. I've got my pizza dough that should be risen and ready to roll. So I'll take that out of the oven. And I'm going to preheat the oven ready for our gratin. So I'm doing that at about 180. Yeah, I'm such a messy cook. Apologies, I don't realise when it's just me in the kitchen. So I've got my silverbeet, and now I'm adding to our gratin over the top. See that one? I think I chose too small a dish for my 1 kilo of potatoes, but that's okay. I'm just going to pop that to the side, and I will make a little individual gratin a little bit later. So I've got my oven preheating. My gratin's pretty well ready to go. And I'm going to get onto rolling out the pizza dough. I'm going to give my bowl a quick wash so that I can get ready to do our topping of our gratin. Alright, quick wash, ready to go. So I'm going to dollop some butter because, you know, why not? A little bit of butter on top. And this is going to bake for 40 minutes before I take it out and put my breadcrumb mixture on top. So I think that's enough. So you guys aren't going to get to see the finished product tonight because you all don't all want to hang around for 45 minutes while I bake my family's dinner. But I will put a post in the comments, a photo in the comments of what it looks like when it's all done. Alright. I might make my my topping. So I've got my lemon zest. Forgot to give this a wash. So I put my lid on. I'm just going to zest up those lemons. Lemon rinds. That was longer than it needed to be, but anyway. I'm just going to give it a scrape. No leaving you in surprise. Oh, Claire, you want to hang around for 45 minutes while I cook dinner? If only I could share. Soon enough. Just going to get this out of the way. Alright, so I've got my rested pizza dough. I might have to slide back here. Zesty indeed, Lara. Zesty indeed. And those lemons came from a local tree, which is nice. It's always nice to have your little local trees for those sorts of things. So I'm going to add some breadcrumbs. Again, these breadcrumbs come from Coral, so you can see on the side here I've got a weight here. So that's how much my container weighs, and whenever I go in I can just re-top up my breadcrumbs based on that. Jumping ahead, I'm going breadcrumbs before it's time. I need to put some butter in and melt that first. I'm going to melt my butter and then I'm going to mix my breadcrumbs in. So melting butter for about a minute, about 70 degrees, you don't want to burn that butter. Okay, while that's going, I'm just going to roll out my pizza dough. So this makes 2 and it's really, really easy to maneuver. Pretty basic. Just roll it out like that. And I have a tray with a silicone mat, which eliminates the need for using baking papers. If you do use baking paper, another really good thing you can do is save your butter wrappers. I buy my butter in paper wrappers, and then I use that to line muffin tins and things like that. So there is our pizza dough. Here is our herb infused oil, which has already had an escape onto our pizza. You can't see that. Let me just scoot back. I'm just spreading that round. I'm going to set that aside because that only takes about 12 minutes to cook. So when I'm putting the topping onto the gratin, I'll put the pizza in then. Our butter should be melted. And it is melted a little bit, some not, but that's okay. Just going to add in some breadcrumbs and a little bit of pepper. Give that a mix. And that's our topping. And that's our pizza. Let me just make sure I've said everything that I needed to say. I think that's it. So for those of you that want to see the finished product, I'll be sure to put a photo in the comment thread. There's our yummy crumb top. You can also put some cheese in it if you like. Another way to do the gratin is you can use coconut cream instead if you like. If you've got somebody with dairy allergy, that's a really great way to change that one up. But basically, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Thank you to Ben from A Guide to Cardinia for letting me come on board and cook with you guys tonight. My name's Ash and I am from the Conscious Jungle and Garfield Community Garden. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week hopefully. Bye.